Hello, everyone. Ray Newlands with Coffee with Ray. Welcome back. Part two lessons learned from losses. And man, yesterday, I don't know. I didn't review all of it, but I did take a look at some of it. It was a little vague, but hey, we're going to be here for a while. This is something that I've committed to myself to do a little bit more often. So it's not going to be something it's just kind of one and done. But let's see. So if if you did take out that pen and that piece of paper and you decided to go through some of them losses, hopefully you found a couple of places where there was some lessons and there was some stuff that maybe you could do different, maybe think of it different. Because a lot of the losses that I've experienced, if it be in anything I tried and I just it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out, or it just went flat, was more it was more my emotions about the loss instead of the physical loss happening. So that's what I want to talk about today. Is your response to the loss usually has more consequence or benefit than the actual loss itself. Okay, and I'm going to put aside of, because of the inflated nature of today's society and internet marketing and social media and TikTok and Instagram and all these social media platforms, where man, you might try to do a video and you get hammered and bashed and all that stuff. That, hey, I mean, that is tough and there's going to be problems for that, but it's just a loss, and it's just honestly other people's opinions. So today is an opinion topic on lessons from the losses. Is sometimes we actually try things and we do them and we do them well and we don't lose, but because of people's opinion, we experience a loss feeling, like we just didn't do what we were set out to do when we did. We went out there, we swung the bat, we made the hit, we got the job, we did the degree, we went to the military, we did these things, but because of other people's opinions, we decided that it maybe failed and that we didn't win. So, along with this list that you have that has these wins and losses on them, grab a highlighter and just go highlight the ones that maybe weren't really losses. They just did not get received the way that you wanted it to be received, which in turn made it feel like a failure, which it wasn't. It wasn't a failure. It was just not for everyone, and it wasn't for the people in your circle. And I take you to a place in the Bible where Jesus was 30. I mean, everyone says he was around 30 years old. He had grown up as a carpenter's kid. He was always different. He didn't really fit in. He had some brothers and sisters. There's a big old deal around his birth. And so I'm sure it was a pretty interesting thing, especially with his ability at a very young age to take in all this information. I'm sure, like James, one of his brothers was just kind of looking over his shoulders like, hey, man, this guy's learning, because they were required to learn, the first five, don't quote me, but I know it's five or six, the Torah. So the first 4 or 5 books of the Bible, they had to know word for word. And, Jesus was pretty good at that. He was actually teaching in the synagogue at a very young age. So now, where's the losses here, or where's the perception of losses? So Jesus starts his ministry. He goes to see John the Baptist that was out there in the Jordan. He's in the Jordan baptizing people, and he gets baptized, and then he begins his ministry after 40 days of isolation and 40 days of being tempted. So he went back home. He went back home, and he decided that this was God in flesh. This was Jesus. He went back home and was like, well, I'm going to start my ministry at home. And it didn't work. See, it wasn't that what he was doing wasn't divine, wasn't called, a calling. I mean, This was good. You know, he was doing exactly what his father told him to do. He was doing what we read in the Bible. But then here comes a statement is that it will be hard for someone to minister or hard for someone to win in their own town. And I've said this before, I grew up in a small town, and I'm not going to badmouth that town, but I will say that not being a born person, not being a native from that area did make it difficult. Okay. So there was some points of contention there because my family was not from there. And, when you're looking at 2,000 people total, I think K through 12 was 265 people. I had companies bigger in the military than my whole town, so small place, it was a fishing town that had, really been on its own for a long, long time. And I did have a school, did have some amenities, but you had to drive 30 miles to get somewhere. I just didn't fit in. I mean, I would like to say my brother did, but I mean, in some ways he probably didn't. And I'm sure that you feel that way. You feel that your business idea or your ministry idea or how you want to perform in ministry or your podcast or your Instagram account that you're going to be an influencer with is the best thing since sliced bread indoor plumbing, but you don't get the support from the people you desire it from the most. So you quit and you take it as a loss. Well, we all need to be pretty thankful that Jesus didn't take that loss and quit. He had a bigger calling. He left his hometown. He dusted his sandals off and he went and did what God told him to do and what God had planned for him. And obviously it was a pretty big success because we're still talking about it today. Now, I'm not going to say that you're going to have Jesus-like influence, but you can have the influencer with you. You can. I will get into this in detail in all these podcasts, but as a human species, just a human, we are wired to fail. We're wired not to get it all right. And sadly enough to say is that some of the people that are closest to us can't see our vision, don't respect the vision, or don't respect you, or don't believe in you, or worst case scenario, would prefer you not to succeed in something, or they feel as if they maybe haven't accomplished enough, and that would make them feel inferior if you went out there and did some of these things. So my biggest lesson with the losses is that, I mentioned that I was a pretty heavy kid. I've always struggled back and forth with my weight because, I was an emotional eater and there was a bunch of emotional stuff happened to me when I was young. There was always a fire lit. There was never too many days that there wasn't just like you're sitting around playing checkers. There was always some hot topic that was on the news of my little address. And because of that, and because of maybe my immaturity and my slow, I know I was extremely slow in catching on to certain things. Man, I really made a name for myself with even my family. Even my family didn't really believe, and rightfully so. I mean, my family didn't really express a lot of belief in me. And when I did come up with some of these harebrained ideas about going to the military or doing this or doing that, it wasn't rightfully, I mean, I think they maybe were trying to protect me and keep me from being harmed. And in doing that, it ended up, making me where some of the most successful moments in my entire life, standing in front of a company of people, a couple hundred folks getting a Navy Achievement Medal for actions that I took at work, just all these massive, great accomplishments that I swung the bat and I actually hit the ball and I did really good, no one got to see it. No one even really knows it because I had to leave my town to be taken serious. I had to leave that place to to be taken serious and to really do what I had been called to do. So I'm not saying that you got to like pack up your tent and leave because someone disagrees with a stance or disagrees with what you want to do. I would just say maybe ask them questions. I wish I could have went back and asked, my parents or some of the people around me. I was in 10th grade and I got pulled into the office and told it would probably be better for me to get a GED. And it wasn't because I don't think I was smart enough. I just didn't, class wasn't important, to me. There was more things going on in my life besides school that no one asked. So sometimes you will have to walk out, not physically leave. And I would suggest not leaving your peer group because that stinks. I have zero peer group left because, 27 years puts a gap that doesn't get glued back together. The people I grew up with don't want anything to do with me anymore because I'm not a part of their life. Really was just almost like I was a trespasser in the first place, came into this place and, I wasn't even really supposed to be there. So it was probably awkward for a little while. And, people still know my name and see me on Facebook and all that stuff. But, that connection of my youth was gone. And there wasn't very many in the first place. But a lot of the things that I had to do and did, even today, really don't get a lot of traction with the people closest to me. So the lessons and the losses is that part 2 is, hey, don't give up just because some people don't agree. I would take wise counsel and make sure that you're in the right path, and I'd probably get that counsel from more than one person, more than 2 people. I mean, if you've got 10 or 15 people telling you that, what you're trying to do is not really there, well, maybe you need to sit down and, take a look at it because maybe you're off path. But some of the greatest things that ever happened in this world didn't make sense to the majority of the people. Okay. And I'm not talking about trying to do a culture movement. I am talking about trying to do your movement, to live your life and to get what you want out of your life. And it's my personal opinion that the fulfillment and all that really doesn't exist unless you know who created all this. Unless you have a relationship with Christ, I mean, all this is an empty basket. I mean, it's a basket with no bottom. You just pour and pour and pour, and it never fills up. But because we're told early in this book that our profession and the things that we like to do or have to do to earn money is always going to be hard. They're not going to work. They're barely going to get by. And if you don't know this when you start, then you just think you're broken. No, you are a part of a broken system. Not necessarily that you're just 100% broken. You've tried and you failed. Well, guess what? After some mistakes in God's garden was made, and they were banned from there, it is clearly written that from the sweat of your brow, you will thorns and thistles. You will have to cultivate and cultivate and cultivate. That's the reason why you plant a garden. You just can't plant what you want. What you don't want always grows in the place where you plant. So in your life, in your business, in what you want to do, in your everywhere, no matter what good you plant, there will be weeds and there will be problems show up there that you have to go in and clean up. Just don't give up. Just don't give up. And the best place to get the best counseling and the best point of perspective and point of view, to me, is in between the first page and last page of the Bible. I mean, even if you don't believe in this right now, even if it's something that you, Ray, that's, just crazy stuff. read it. Just read it. You can download an app, and the Bible app, and they can give you a little plan. You can pick something, you can pick a topic, and you can just read it. Just read it. And well, and with that being said, if you do have questions, I am the third string theologian. So I'm the guy who, just as like in basketball, I would have been third string, fourth string, and didn't make the cut. The third string theologian is that I've never fit in any kind of church, although I do attend one. Is, hey, I'm here. I've studied the Bible for a long time. I've studied it through a college level and in a few different places. I would be more than happy to help you navigate these oceans and put you in the right path to go do this on your own, because this isn't, like I said in a podcast before, it's an individual sport. And what I really want from all this is that people just give it a chance. Just give it. I mean, hey, look, here's the message. Here's where I have corrected my life. And I think it's something that everyone can use. So why not use it? So for Coffee with Ray today, part 2. I think we got one more part on the lessons learned, and then we're going on to a different topic. So please pray for me as I pray for you. Please keep on keeping on. And until tomorrow, Coffee with Ray appreciates everything that y'all do for me. And please like and subscribe and all that jibber jabber that people have to say to get free clicks. So y'all have a good day. Thank you so much for taking your time with me, and we will talk to you tomorrow.